All right, Coach, I think what we're going to do right now is pause this conversation and get ready to bring out our guest of honor. But before we continue, why don't we take a brief look at this videotape that has our guest of honor on it.
As I travel around the world and meet partners all over the world who are working for our company, what I see in them, in their hearts, in their eyes, is the unbelievable level of enthusiasm they have for what it is we're doing. The legacy of Starbucks is not going to be how many stores we have, how many countries we're in. The legacy of Starbucks is the fact that we built the company the right way. We made a profit. We created a great environment for our people, and along the way, we gave back. We gave back to the communities we serve. We gave back to the coffee farmers who pick our coffee. And in every place that we've been, in every place that we've touched, we've tried to leave it a little bit better than the way we found it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz.
I just wanted to sit and listen.
So welcome, Howard. You saying you just wanted to hear more of what Coach had to say?
I just wanted to sit back there and listen and learn. I was just stunned of the wisdom, the honesty, the authenticity, and how rare it is, unfortunately, in the world we live in today.
Now, do you guys know each other at all? Have you met before tonight?
We have met before. The coach, we invited the coach to speak to Starbucks a couple of times, and he left us with, again, the insight and the wisdom that we've taken away, and it was a great pleasure.
Authenticity is a word I know that you search for in your life, and it's interesting to hear you use that again. I know, Howard, that you're a huge basketball fan and have been all your life. What is it about the game that you've always liked, and were you a fan of UCLA and Coach Wooden's growing up?
Well, living in New York,
maybe not.
You know, he's setting me up so early. You know, I wasn't a UCLA fan. However, you know, growing up in New York and being a fan of sports, and specifically basketball, the Wizard of Westwood was a legend that we all were aware of. And, you know, to be honest with you, when all of us at Starbucks met the coach for the first time, I think all of us felt we were on rarefied air. And even today, spending some time alone, sitting and talking, not only about basketball, about life, leadership, ethics, values, it's humbling, honestly, just to be around him. And what a pleasure.
So this is a Global Leadership Award. What sort of unique challenges does the global marketplace present right now for you, Howard?
Well, when I think about what we've done over the years, we opened our first store outside of North America in '96. And as I spoke to the students today in the MBA class, no one at Starbucks had any international experience at all when we opened our first store outside of the U.S., and that was in Japan. We're now in 44 countries with almost 6,000 stores. But I think the greatest lesson we've learned is that despite the global challenges that exist in the world today, of which there are many, we've learned something very important, and it's about the human condition and the human spirit. And what it is that we can travel all over the world and visit Starbucks stores. And if you close your eyes and you don't see how people are dressed, and maybe you don't listen to the different language, you will see a common thread of humanity. And that is employees who want to be respected and valued, and customers who want to be appreciated for their loyalty to the company. And I think what we all want in life, despite the tremendous differences in diversity, is we want the same thing. It seems very easy, and then you look at the backdrop of the world today, it's unfortunate that we live at a time when there's more fragility in the world than perhaps ever before, and a lot of bad things could happen.
Coach, I have to ask you, are you a Starbucks fan? Are you a coffee drinker?
Well, as I told Mr. Schultz earlier, if you get some donuts to go with the coffee, I'd like it.
I want you to know that when you told me that this afternoon, I immediately called the office. And we are going to hand-deliver donuts to your home. And you have to stop calling me Mr. Schultz.
He mentioned his interest in basketball, but he didn't mention the fact that he has a son on the basketball team at Occidental University, and I had a great-grandson that just was on the basketball team, a teammate of his, and mine just graduated from Occidental.
It's a small world.
That is. How cool. I want to ask you guys a couple questions I want to ask both of you. First of all, about leadership. Can someone really be born to be a leader? Or can it be taught, I should say? Or is someone born to be a leader, or can leadership be taught? I want to start with you, Coach, and ask you about that.
In my opinion, you can be taught. You have to have certain qualities that would demand respect, but the things that are so important in leadership, I think, can be taught. I don't believe you're born to be a leader. I think there's different things that will happen, but not everyone can be. That is true. But not everyone can be a lot of other things, because we're all different. The good Lord is pretty smart. If we're all alike, it'd be very monotonous.
You're on that one. Howard, what do you think?
I would agree with that. I think perhaps the hardest thing about being a leader at times is demonstrating or showing vulnerability. And it has a lot to do with trust. And when you surround yourself with people who you trust, who have complementary skills that add value to the team, whether it's sports or in business, and that trust and confidence allows you, I think, to be in a way, the way you wouldn't be in a normal circumstance. And what I mean by that is that when you, and the interesting thing is that the similarities between sports and business, the analogies have been made many, many times, but it is a team sport, and there can be more than one leader. And I think when the leader demonstrates vulnerability and sensibility and brings people together, the team wins.
You mentioned trust, so it interests me. Now, my daughter out there, my lovely daughter, won't agree with me. But Abraham Lincoln said, it's better to trust and be disappointed occasionally than it is to distrust and be miserable all the time. But I think with those under your supervision, you have to show trust if you expect it from them, and you do expect it from them.
It's tough to argue with both Abraham Lincoln and Coach Wooden. Right? Right? But, that's family. So, let me ask you about leadership and stars, star employees, star players. And I'll ask you, Howard, first. Is it okay for a star employee, a star manager, to outshine the CEO?
To outshine the CEO?
Yeah. Or the coach? Or how do you handle that? How do you manage that?
On one hand, I think success is best when it's shared. And I think when people feel that they're going to share the spotlight. But I asked the coach a question this afternoon today, and he abruptly said no. I said, did you ever change your coaching style for any player? And he didn't have to even blink. He said, no, never. That never happened with me. And so, Coach, maybe you can address that.
Let's see if I can think of some comment that would work out.
Tactful.
Well, that's not quite true. I
Okay.
changed my offensive style when we had this skinny, long fella from New York come out to play for us. And I had always used, from an offensive point of view, a high post offense, which I think is the best today, because you can do so many things off of it, and it's rather simple to teach. And I think most of us tend to complicate things if we're not very careful. And but when Alcindor came, I didn't want to use that. I wanted to have him on the low post, so I changed to high-low post. So that is changing. Now, my basic philosophy, no, I never changed my basic philosophy. But according to the personnel that I had, even in the high post offense, if my forwards are better scorers, the things came up naturally. We didn't have to set it up for them. And if this was your postman or your guards, the same thing. Although the guards were always complaining and not enough was set up for them. And I have a young man out here today in the audience, a great player for me in my first 2 national championships. I hesitate to mention his name, but I will. Keith Eriksen. Keith has said that he was a starter for three years on 3 teams, 2 of which won national championships. He said, never once did I set up a sort of play to give him a scoring opportunity. And I said, Keith, I did you a favor. I didn't want other people to know what I know. You couldn't shoot. And he's one of the finest, spirited, best basketball players I ever had.
That's a great story. Let me ask you both a little bit about constituencies that you have to manage. And I remember talking to you about this, Howard, years ago. And, you know, because as a CEO, you've got shareholders, you've got customers, you've got employees, you've got people who live in the towns where your stores are situated. And I asked you, what's your most important constituency, thinking, you know, every CEO says it, the shareholders. And you said, no, it's your employees.
Right.
And I was struck that there may be a similarity with Coach Wooden in that a coach has to think about alumni, about filling Pauley Pavilion, and you could play to that. You could say, you know, the administration, the alumni want a lot of W's. We got to put our best player in. We have to fill the place up. The players are just there to score a lot of baskets. So I thought that was kind of a similar thing. And how is it that you can manage a business thinking about customers, employees
Right.
first like that? Excuse me.
Well, I think it was said earlier today as well, is that, you know, for many people on the outside, they think Starbucks is in the coffee business, which is true, but the essence of our business is that we're in the people business. And I think we concluded a long time ago that if we solely focused on building shareholder value, that it would come at the expense of creating value for our customers and our people. So we inverted the model and said we can't exceed the expectations of our shareholders unless we exceed the expectations of our people, and link those values together. And, you know, I remember before we went public in '92, when Starbucks became the first company in America to give health care and equity in the form of stock options to part-time people, there was an outcry from the private shareholders at the time thinking we were going to dilute the integrity of shareholder value. And I think what we proved is that by providing value for our employees, we would provide a greater return for our shareholders. And unfortunately, as you know better than most, you know, we live in a Wall Street society of a very significant short-term mentality, and it's very difficult to have long-term horizon. And I think it's up to the leader, the CEO, to create the context for the fact that we're building an enduring business, not a business for today, but a business for the future.
Coach, you had some... You might have had some of those pressures too, as I suggested, where it might seem like it was not the best thing to focus on the players, but was that your most important constituency?
In a sense, yes. But you got the focus on them is to get them to work together, to develop their own individual abilities to the best possible, and then put that to use for the welfare of the team. And that's up to the coach to get them in there, the administrator, the leader, whoever it might be. And you got to get across to them that it's amazing how much can be accomplished. It's astounding how much can be done when the ultimate call is if one is for all and the credit is reached for by none. We want the whole, when they work together toward the common goal, much can be accomplished. If someone's too interested in just their individual welfare, that hurts the overall success of the group as a whole.
Coach, was it important for your players to like you?
Well, I'd like for them to like me, but I'd rather have them respect me than just like me. But I think it is important. I want them. I think most of my players like me more after they graduated while they were playing. But yes, I think you must have the respect. That's the first thing. And you gain respect by how you treat them and how you respect them. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. But I told my players, and I think Keith, my two Keiths out here, Wilkes and Eriksen, they can tell you that at the beginning of each year when I talked to the players about some of my expectations and told them that now I'm not going to like you all the same. You don't like each other all the same. And you won't like me all the same. But I love you all the same. But I will not like you all the same. And I'm not going to treat you all the same. If I treat you all the same, that shows partiality because you don't all deserve the same treatment. I'm going to try to give you the treatment you earn and deserve, but I'm imperfect and I'll make mistakes. But just bear in mind that if I make too many mistakes, you have nothing to worry about. I'll be fired.
I can't top that.
I mean, that's an incredible level of honesty. That I mean, to be able to, but seriously, to be able to say it to people that you're managing, essentially, that I'm not going to like you all the same. I mean, Howard, I don't think you could get away with saying that in a company, could you?
I think I'd be sued.
Right. It's really, it's a different sort of environment, I guess. But what about that? What's important for you? Is it important for people to like you? Do you want? I mean, obviously, you seek respect.
I think maybe it's certainly a different environment than a coach and a small group of people. We're talking about 13 people versus Starbucks has 200,000. I'm not sure which is more difficult, but I think the issue for us is building a culture where there's respect and dignity for all, and that people really feel that they have a voice. And I think in most cases, people respect the fact that, I love the company, I'm here to help them build it, and I think that over time, what we've been able to do is the culture and values of our company have become a competitive advantage. And I think one of the reasons why people support Starbucks is because they have trust in the brand and what the company stands for. And I think as a result of that, I probably get more credit than perhaps I deserve.
Now, Coach, you may have heard that Starbucks, Howard was the CEO of Starbucks, then stepped aside and let other people run the show, and then the company hit maybe some speed bumps. It's hard to know exactly how to define it because we are living in a Wall Street world, and I think some of the problems may be perception. Wherever I go to a Starbucks in New York City, the problem is the lines are too long. I don't know what kind of problems those are, but what sort of advice could you give to someone like Howard to get his company more focused and re-energized and reinvigorated?
If I had the intelligence to advise Mr. Schultz what he should do, I wouldn't be sitting here.
No, but I asked the coach a question today that relates to this. I said, Coach, do you think it's more difficult to become a champion than it is to repeat as a champion?
That's relevant, right?
And the words are different, but I had a vested interest in the answer.
Well, I think it's more difficult to get to the top or near the top than it is to reach that. Once you reach that, you learn so much along the way. You know how to work things a little better. And also in my particular profession, in teaching in college, it depends on your talent. And then the more you win, the better talent will want to come to you. If you're losing the talent, they'll try to shy away from you. I don't blame them, but when you do better, the talent keeps coming to you. So I think it's easier to say, I never say at the top, but near at the top, where you're a contender, where you might be considered to be a contender for the national championship. Doesn't mean you're going to win it, because there's going to be several others that can be contenders too. But to reach there is difficult. There's so many things that you're learning along the way, and you learn things along the way that will help you. Now, we might disagree a little bit on parts on that, and the base part we agreed on.
Right. We're going to have to wrap things up here to get to the award part of the evening, but I want to ask you, where did you learn about leadership? From whom?
That's an interesting question for me. In many ways, I think I learned it in the schoolyards of Brooklyn, New York, which is not probably the answer you're looking for.
No.
But I think I grew up in a place which was a very diverse neighborhood, and you had to get along with lots of different people, and it required, I think, a deep sense of understanding how different people reacted to different things, and I think it imprinted me and gave me an opportunity to see the world a little bit differently as I got older. I don't think I was prepared, nor did I envision that we would one day build this major global business. It would have taken such arrogance to think that when we were so much smaller. And so, in many ways, we learned it as we were building it.
That's great stuff. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Howard, Coach, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking these two exemplary leaders. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. It's been a joy. I was going to mention about my great-grandson and your son, and I forgot about it in the basketball.